Hey, hi, and hello. So it has been 5 months since I've picked up rope flow as a practice. Has it made a significant difference? How does it compare to some of my other fitness routines? I'm not a fitness junkie, but here is my honest review of it and what I've seen work and not work. So first of all, to give you some context behind why I picked up rope flow, I'm personally a medium distance runner, so I love to participate in races like Tough Mudder and whatnot. And I was starting to notice that my legs are starting to hurt a lot when I run, my knees especially. I had a snowboarding injury when I twisted my knee once, and nowadays every time I run, I do find that both the knees hurt, but also it's getting a bit monotonous. So I'm pushing myself, I like to get better times, but at the end of the day, when I run, it's just the dreary run on the treadmill. And unfortunately for people who live in Vancouver, in the winter, there's not much of an option to run outside because it's raining every day, so it's always on the treadmill. So I was starting to look into alternatives that were a bit more fun, a bit more engaging, and a bit more mentally challenging. So I picked up jump rope, skipping rope. And basically, like when I got back into jump rope, I did really enjoy the process of it, but same like running, it was quite monotonous. So I started to look into learning different jump rope tricks, different moves like side swing, EB swings, and I actually came across one of the rope flow videos where David Weck was showing the dragon roll movement, and I thought, hey, that looks like a nice, fancy, interesting move. So that's this one that you see over here. And I noticed that, hey, he wasn't jumping at all, and it's just moving the hands. So I really looked a bit more into it, and I learned that rope flow is like a close cousin to jump rope, but without all of the skipping, all of the jumping. So you get a lot of the movements were actually borrowed from skipping rope, but you don't engage your body in that high impact activity where you're bouncing, hitting the ground as much. And pros and cons to that. So I still jump rope, and I still think it's very important because jump rope is great for cardio, and it's great for improving and building bone density because you want to have that impact, and that creates those micro lesions or micro cracks in your bones, and that actually toughens your bones up because your bone will actually strengthen itself. And when you do rope flow, what I find about rope flow is because it's low impact, it is something that I right away saw that this is something that I could be doing well into old age. It doesn't really require you to have a lot of skill. Some of the moves do look very fancy. It looks like it might hurt, but honestly, the rope is so soft, especially if you have a good rope. It's more like a flop than a smack or a whip. Matter of fact, compared to skipping rope, I find that when the rope hits me, it's a lot more gentle than a skipping rope because when I'm skipping, I'm typically going a lot more quickly, right? So when it hits you, it's more like a pah, because you're swinging quite quickly. Another thing that drew me towards rope flow is it really encourages you to move your whole body. Not so much like you see when you're jumping rope. When you're jumping rope, you're mostly in the same plane, just jumping up and down. Maybe you're doing some tricks, your hands are moving here and there. You might be turning around, but you're turning typically your whole body because you're jumping. And with rope flow, because your legs are typically planted on the ground, there's more twisting movement involved, both your spine, your shoulders, your arms. And I really liked, and I think the concept of it made a lot of sense to me, right? It's more about moving in ways that are similar to how you move in daily life. So it encourages you to build and strengthen those stabilizing muscles. Like for example, like when you're walking, when you're running, you're typically going counter-rotating, right shoulder over left foot, head over your feet. So that's where a lot of the principles were built upon, and David Weck is the guy who started it. So he's the guy who invented the Bosu ball. And really it's all about engaging and training you so that you're not focused on that static kind of position all the time. And not to say that that's bad, like when you're in the gym, you definitely want to have the right posture, you want to have a firm and tight back, but that's not how we typically move in the day-to-day life, right? That's why you see a lot of people when they get older, if they're not conscious of their posture and they lift something heavy, it's quite easy to pull their back because they're not really strengthening those other stabilizing muscles as well. So you want to make sure that you keep moving, keep practicing so that when you get well into old age, you're still used to and still have those dynamic ranges of motion. Because the principle is use it or you lose it, right? If you only train for a certain type of skill or a certain type of posture, then you lose the ability to do things in a different form, in a different posture. So I really was drawn towards rope flow because it was a relatively safe and easy way to get into the movement or the flow practice. And the other ones I've seen out there would be like kettlebell flow, mace flow, the Gada, which comes from India, and then you have animal flow, flow yoga. And why I chose rope flow is, number one, it's relatively low risk for injury. So compared to kettlebell flow, where you're throwing, twisting the heavy kettlebell around, or even the mace, which is a bit heavier. With rope, it's so nice and soft and gentle, but more importantly, the rope is a great teacher. If you are doing things like flow yoga or animal flow, or Tai Chi even, you know the movements, you make the movements, but it doesn't really get you to think about the timing, the sequence, and the exact form. And when you have the rope in your hand and you start to swing it, very quickly you'll notice like if your form is off, if your timing is wrong, the rope will tell you because it's gonna hit you or coil around you or smack you a little bit. So when you do some of these movements, you really become a lot more aware of your body. So I would say, has rope flow made much of an impact so far? The honest review is, number one, I would say definitely for on-body awareness. I'll give one quick example for a sports-related motion. So with the throw, typically when you're throwing a baseball, you're taught to like wind up and then you release, right? But you don't typically think about which movement is happening when and how you are doing some of the movements. Yes, you have the wind up, you're shifting the weight, but then sometimes you may release too quickly or you may swing forward before your weight has fully shifted. But when you have the rope in your hand, if you have the timing off and you're starting to release before you've shifted your weight, you'll notice that the rope will have a slack in it, and then you don't get the tension. That means you're off on your form. So it doesn't feel right because the rope gives you that feedback, right? So this is what the throw movement looks like with the rope. Hopefully I won't hit the ceiling, but here you drag the rope down on the ground and then you're shifting the weight to your back leg, and then you're lifting it up behind you, throwing it in front of you. And throw. And throw, right? I am a bit limited in my movement because I don't want to hit the ceiling, but I think you get the sense of it. So I find it really helps you become a lot more mindful of not only how you move, but also how you time your movements in relation to the rest of your body. And not only the hands, but more importantly, how you're shifting your weight, your legs, your balance, moving your spine. So that has been, I'd say, the biggest impact. Has it actually affected mobility? So far, I don't think so, not so much, because I've never really had a lot of mobility issues to begin with. There are certain things that I'm not as flexible with. The biggest one being, you see people who lift weights, they can't touch their hands on the back like that. I do have a limit with my right hand. So with my left hand I can touch, with my right hand I can't. That hasn't changed since I picked up rope flow, to be honest. But it has made me a lot more aware of imbalances between my left and right side, beyond the ones that I already know of. So when I do certain moves, especially things like the sneak, one hand versus the other, when I'm doing the Hanuman dance, which is alternating sneak. Let me see if I got it right. Give me 1 second. So something like that. I do notice that I do it better on one direction versus the other. So you can notice like it is a little bit better this way versus the other way, which I was screwing up a bit more on, right? So it has made me a bit more aware of some of those imbalances and really forces me to be mindful and practice the other side a lot more. So I think it helps a bit with coordination. Do I really approach it purely from a fitness perspective? Not so much, because the main thing I say is I really enjoyed the kind of gamification aspect of it where I'm mastering and unlocking new moves. So I've taken a more freestyle approach to it. So there are a lot of unnecessary moves that you see me doing, like wraps or floats, hand flips. You really don't need some of these moves to see the physical benefits and the movement benefits from it, but it is a lot of fun. And it is really more like bringing back that playful aspect to working out. Because working out fitness has generally been a grind. Yes, you want to be healthy, yes, you want to look good, but most people don't enjoy working out. And for me, trying out some of these things, practicing some of these moves, learning from the community, it has really brought a lot of enjoyment to the practice. And I think very much and very similar to practices like Tai Chi, it's really focused on getting you to just have more movement in your life. And yes, I'd say I'm by no means an expert yet. I've only been doing this for 5 months. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I've only recently, just today, learned from Ed how to do the mid release. And I think I get most of it right now, but not 100%, so let's give that a try. So release. Oh, there we go. So I caught it. And on the other side. No, I didn't catch that one. But yeah, I think that's kind of my review for it. So body awareness, yes. Mindfulness, a bit. Mobility, not so much. Is it a great workout? Does it really build your muscles? I'd say probably not. I still do strength training as well. You do need to lift progressively heavier weights if you're looking to build muscle mass. Has it helped with my back? A little bit. I've had back problems for the longest time, and I had a very bad back spasm in 2019, and that really kind of ended up making me curve my back quite a bit, and I wasn't even aware that my muscle was tense up. I thought I was being relaxed. And I think with some of the underhand type moves, where you kind of, the weight is lifting you up, it does help a bit with kind of decompressing the spine. So I do love to do like underhand movements, or even the golf swing after like a set like that. Because yeah, I find it really helps twist and loosen my back. And generally I do feel better after flowing than before I flip. So I'd say if you're curious, if you're interested, give it a shot. You don't need a fancy rope. I make my own ropes. I do sell them as well. But if you just want to try something, pick up a skipping rope. You can try flowing with it. If you have a belt at home, you can give that a shot as well. And I hope you give this a try and really enjoy yourself in the process. So let's try that mid release one more time.